No, thank you guys very much for coming out on Thursday night. You guys are in for a treat. Some people have come into town that know a lot about plant medicine and alternatives. They were talking about nutrition and plant medicine. We are blessed tonight to have, this is Angela.
Hi guys. Thanks you guys so much for coming.
You can hear her.
I don't need a mic, you guys know that.
As you can tell, it's a whole bunch of public speaking. But can you hear me okay? No. Okay. I haven't been on tour in a while. Okay, I'm rusty. Gotta admit. So you guys, a month ago, we got to go down, Angela and I, we got to go spend a week with a couple of people that we're going to introduce you to. We got to go retreat down at their ranch. We learned a lot about how to be kind of public servants and spread the word a little bit about what you guys are going to hear tonight. They offered to come up and educate all of us tonight by literally the goodness of their hearts. They've been doing this a long time. For 20 years they've been trying to educate people just like this on how to take responsibility of their health, start watching what we put in our mouth, and the beauty of some plant-based complements that we can do to achieve that. So, got anything else before I go?
I just wanted to tell you guys all thank you. I know you guys all have lives besides this, and I'm so appreciative that you guys took the time out. You guys will not be disappointed. I've learned a lot from these two also. They're super humble servants. I've learned to be, a humble servant as well. I've learned a lot about myself just from learning from them. And we're super thankful for you guys to be here. And just a quick note to housekeeping, if you guys could just silence your phones. We will be doing a live video also, and so if any of you guys want to be a part of that or be able to follow that, we can get you guys on a group so you guys can follow that as well. But we just want to make sure everyone's got their cell phone silent so we can really kind of listen and hone into what everybody has to say. Okay?
Real quick, so we're going to introduce Sean and Tylene Loomer first. They're going to come up and share with you. Again, they've been in this game a long time, and they literally live to help educate. We're also blessed tonight to have Dr. Griffith, who some of you guys know from living around here. It's kind of a big deal. It's been given birth to 4,000 children. He's been practicing medicine for 45 years. Just happened to co-found a little university down the street here that is one of the premier holistic universities in the nation, Pasteur University. I look so forward to Sean interviewing Dr. Griffith tonight. Just have him tell us a little bit what we can learn. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Sean Loomer. And his wife, Tylene. You guys, nobody doesn't talk, but she does for us.
Okay. I got a confession. Just start out with a quick confession. I probably just ate more at dinner than I've eaten all week. Where's Doc at? I don't know, Doc, man. I was looking for some good influence. Anyways, wow. I'm going to get over it in several minutes. Very, very grateful and humble that you're here tonight. We appreciate you. We're just here to be here, to share. And when Michael and Angela were down at our ranch and we were talking about it, we're like, you just give us the word and we'll be there. This is what we do. Started to feel called to do what we do. I never imagined at this point in my life I would be doing this, and certainly not for the past couple of decades. So with that being said, we'll share a little bit. I'm a West Coast guy, she's East Coast, and she won't need a microphone, but we'll let her have one. Oftentimes I'll tell her to use her West Coast voice. It's West Coast voice. You're scaring people right now, that's okay. But this is an amazing lady, and my kind of journey with Tylene started roughly 20-ish years ago. I was in my mid-30s. I was dealing with some personal pain. We're never supposed to say anything, I'm going to just say it. But so I had arthritis in my hands. I had acid reflux. I had indigestion. I was a head high school football coach at the time down at Valley Christian High School in Chandler, Arizona. And I was getting really frustrated. You know, I was getting frustrated. I couldn't throw the ball around like I used to with the guys. I couldn't really work out. It's pain. I was going to a massage therapist once a week for almost 2 years, and she would simply just work on my hands. I didn't get it. You know, I'd already lost my mom to colon cancer, and I was starting to do some juicing and doing, you know, things that'd be more preventative. And here comes this young gal at the time, and
I was young at the time. We caught
she just turned 51 last week, so I think she's super young. I'm 5 years older. Well, right now, so I'm not 56 till May, so I say I'm 4 years older. It's catching up.
My mom reminds him of his age because she always says, "Oh, you can get a house in my community."
Yeah. It's that East Coast humor. They're mean, man. Any East Coast people here? Any East Coasters? All right, she's got a couple for you. I'll make sure to keep my distance. Anyways, so when I met Tylene, she was introduced to me, and I knew she'd worked with some professional athletes. I knew she had worked with, I don't know, hundreds of doctors by that point. And I thought, what do I got to lose? I was going to a specialist in Phoenix, Scottsdale. I'd been to 3 different docs in Arizona. One said I needed surgery on my forearms. That's where my pain was coming from. I had nerve damage. And I didn't buy into any of that. I didn't buy into it. I didn't want to be medicated. I didn't want surgery. My senior year in high school, one of my sisters went in for routine surgery on a rib. Doc happened to be on the phone with his broker. Gave her the wrong anesthesia. She went into a coma and passed. So I'm a little bit fearful of those routine surgeries. And I thought there's got to be a better way. And here comes this gal, and she starts educating me. So imagine 20 years ago hearing words like plant enzymes, stabilized probiotics, whole food supplementing, things like that. And when I went to meet her and told her what I was experiencing, and I said, you know, I got arthritis in my hands and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, you don't. And we kind of got that East Coast attitude. I'm like, yes, I do. Don't tell me. I'm the one experiencing this pain. And we went kind of bantering back and forth, and I just said, okay, well, what do I have then if it's not arthritis? And she goes, well, it's really simple. She goes, first of all, you have to understand, Sean, that they have to create a disease so they can create a drug.
Yes.
I said, okay, I can kind of track with that. And I said, well, tell me what's wrong with me. And she said, well, you've lost the ability every time you eat protein that is cooked, heated, processed in any way, your body, Sean, does not break it completely down to amino acid. In fact, your body, it kind of stays as uric acid for the most part. And that's what they call arthritis. And so 4, 5 days later, I still remember the time, driving and feeling no pain in my hands, driving my car in Arizona. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I said, who is this girl at the time? And I picked up my phone. You guys remember those phones, brick phones? Awesome. We work out with them. We're good. I remember calling her and saying, look, I don't know who you are. You're not a doctor. You teach doctor. I don't care about any of that. I have no pain in my hands. Wow. And all I want to know is the pain going to come back, yes or no? And you remember what you told me?
Yes, if you don't listen to me.
Yes. In a nice, sweet way. And I went back and saw her, and this is where the conversation, you know, that's where this whole thing started. And the way she taught me initially, the very first time I went to see her, was she was doing a little pudding demonstration for me. A little visual that maybe she thought would help the light go off. And I want to say this to you guys right now, when we do things like a group like this, it's a nice group, nice sized group, we don't care the number of people. If it's just 1 or 2 people, we're good. If it's 5,000, 10,000 people in an arena, we're good. But honestly, this feels a little bit safer to us. Cameras scare us a little bit. Just because kind of the powers that be out there don't like some of the things that we share. I think now in 2020, though, we're a little better off. You know, I think people are way more into finding out the rest of the story and finding out why and what can we do to do a better job of staying away from some of these issues. So do you want to go ahead and share with them, and then I'm going to just hand the mic to you once you do that. Me? Am I going to be Vanna?
Here in this area, actually, you guys are really more aware than as you go further to the East Coast. So you guys are progressive, California is progressive, Oregon, actually Vermont on the East Coast was a little progressive, and they knew some of this type of stuff. But the main thing I want you guys to understand with enzymes, because we're really, really short on time, because I could do a whole talk on one enzyme, let alone, you know, a whole bunch at once. But enzymes are substrate specific, and they create a reaction, and they speed up a reaction. You have multiple enzymes in your body, but those are metabolic enzymes. So there's about 5,000 in your body, and then 3,000 of them are made by bacteria in your body. So you need to make sure you have good bacteria as well. But what I want to talk to you about tonight, so there's three main types. There's plant enzymes, and that's what you're going to see how they work tonight by doing this pudding demo. But then there's digestive enzymes, and you all know what that is, because if you ever were younger, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but if you have a saltine cracker, and you put it in your mouth and you let it sit there for a while, it'll turn sweet. And that's because the amylase in your saliva is going to work, and then turning it into a simple sugar. So you taste that sweetness. So the amylase breaks down, you know, starches, and then breaks it into a simple glucose so the body can absorb it. And what you're familiar with the third enzyme would be metabolic enzymes, and that's what's allowing you to even listen to me now. It's what's helping your whole body function. And there's a whole component for anti-aging with enzymes, and it's about not tapping out your metabolic enzymes. And I don't have enough time to teach you that tonight, but I will tell you that the research shows that you can live up to 30 years longer knowing this information that I'm going to teach you tonight, based on plant enzymes, will conserve your metabolic enzymes. Okay? And then, Sean's over here stirring up the pudding.
My arm's tired. So I'm stirring that pudding with we're going to show you what happens when we put a plant enzyme in that cooked. It's an example of cooked food. I want to just give you back up a little bit and give you just a little bit of how we even got to this point. After that took place with my hands, you can see nothing's coming out of there, no matter how long I was stirring that. And then I'm going to give this to you. You can put it in there, and then I'll tell them a little bit more about what's that.
All right. I'm not doing anything magic.
Yeah. So about 3 years or so after that experience I had with my hands, and I had gone back to talk to Tylene and ask her why this had happened. During that first week, not only did the pain in my hands go away, and have not been back in 20 years. The acid reflux, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, used to get acid reflux, so did some of my siblings. I've had 0 acid reflux, I've had 0 indigestion. The other cool thing I thought at the time was I could see that I had abs again. I just recognized that. And that was really because, you know, when we eat, we're supposed to get energy, right? If you're eating nutrient-dense food, hopefully you're getting some good nutrients. You're supposed to get energy. You're supposed to live when you're eating, right? You're supposed to get life. And you're also supposed to process out what you're not breaking down, not getting rid of. My mom, I mentioned, passed a colon cancer, and I still remember as a kid, sometimes she would be in the bathroom a long time. At first I thought she was just hanging out, hiding from the kids, but really she couldn't poop, man. She couldn't go to the bathroom. Why wouldn't she have passed at a young age of colon cancer? Her body was just so toxic. And that's just something, you know, we do poop seminars. We just talk about poop, but that's okay. It's another conversation. But over, you know, a few years after when Tylene came to me, she said, look, let's just, because I remember telling her, I'm like, how come everyone doesn't know this? I was really kind of mad. I was upset. I was frustrated that I didn't know this. The things she was teaching me 20 years ago, I was really frustrated with. And then a few years later, we decided we'd start some kind of business to educate. And that's all we were meant to do. That's all we set out to do. There was no real business model or plan. It's just that we wanted people to be enlightened. And that's our goal of tonight. Maybe you'll pick something up, maybe you won't. But if we can inspire you in any way, we need to wake up. We need to wake others up to what's going on. We need to take our health more into our own hands. And over the years, just so you kind of know how we got to here, because Tylene helps create products like this enzyme, and this is not about products at all. The reason why we're here is to educate. That was our original intention. What happened to us was kind of interesting. We started getting all these athletes and celebrities, and teams, and NBA, and NFL, and NHL, and professional baseball, and NCAA, and Olympic, and X Games, and blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know if you guys remember Steve Nash from the Phoenix Suns in the NBA. And Steve partnered with us back in 2010 because he was taking a handful of the products that she had created. And he asked, look, I can help you guys, because the night I met Ty, I failed to mention, she told me she wanted to save the world. I thought it was kind of corny. But then, obviously I get it now because she wrote me into this deal and I hadn't gotten out of it. But Steve got involved with us, and then pretty soon we had, all the vultures came out, right? And then we were 10,000 plus stores, and your Whole Foods and vitamin shops and things like that. We're all over the world in all these countries. And the problem is the bottles don't talk. They just can't talk. And so if you ever find yourself in a place in life where you never really set out to be, that's what happened to us. And so we're just grateful that we can move forward from that and just get back to this. Because it's not about a product. It's about knowledge. It's about simple information that none of us were taught, which is very mind-boggling to me. And so as I've been rambling here, Ty will show you. Don't go near me.
This already broke down as Sean was talking. It's like water now. It just kept breaking down. We like to use chocolate pudding because it's fun, but you won't run to the bathroom, just so you know. I just want you to understand what happens. So the reason I stir the pudding is it's to mimic the stomach's peristalsis action. You're not going to watch this. I'm just going to lick that off my hand. The reason we don't use butterscotch is I'd probably drink it afterwards, but it is pre-digested, so it'd be okay. But plant enzymes, they come from plants. So where you find the bromelain would be like from pineapples and things you can get from papayas, but there's several different types. And we have a broad spectrum. So there's something in it for everything. There's invertase, maltase, there's things that are going to digest specific sugars. There's things that are going to digest, beans, because enzymes are substrate specific. So you need a specific enzyme for that thing that you're eating. So we took all the thinking out of it for you, and we have something that has all the enzymes. So if you eat a Thanksgiving meal, you're actually going to process everything, from the beginning of the meal, the appetizers, all the way to the end, and the dessert. You're going to make sure you process that so it doesn't stay as debris in the blood later. And if I had time, I'd kind of get into how disease is created from when you're not processing your food all the way. It's the one thing we do every single day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, pasteurized juices, pasteurized milk. All of that means it's cooked. And so where enzymes live, dessert. Good, dessert is cooked. Okay, we're going to confess. We just had key lime pie. It was amazing. We haven't had that in a really long time, and we took a lot of enzymes with it, but I'll tell you why. It was really good. We're not perfect. We don't ever try to be perfect. We've done perfect for a while. It's not very fun, so I will tell you that. But I can tell you how to be perfect. It's eat way more raw food. If you could eat 100% raw food, you'd transform your body within 30 days. I've seen it over and over and over again. So if you're dealing with something crazy and you just want to fast forward that healing process, go all raw. And if you don't know what that means, Facebook me later and I can explain. But enzymes live in raw food. As soon as you heat anything over 116, 118 degrees, science is kind of playing around with a number, but that's about the area where you denature and completely kill all the enzymes in that specific food. Like, you can eat an apple and it's totally raw. You're gonna get all the life force, the enzymes, the life force of that apple. You're gonna get everything out of that when you eat it raw. As soon as you turn it into apple pie, it's harder to break down, harder to process. So you're asking of the body, so even though you're giving to the body, you're giving it food, you're giving it cooked food, and you're asking of the body to create its own enzymes. So where does your body do that? In the pancreas. So the pancreas gets extremely taxed. And we don't know where you all start off in the beginning of life. Whether you had a ton of enzymes, whether you had less enzymes, you know, if somebody else over here has more, different cultures have more enzymes than other cultures they're noticing. And which is also why certain cultures will get more disease than another culture, even if they eat some of the same exact foods. So your metabolic enzymes is your full enzyme potential, where if you have, so you want to conserve those. The body's really conservative, so the best way to do that is when you eat something that's cooked, take an enzyme like what we just showed you, that just broke down that pudding. It will break down your proteins, carbs, and fats. So Sean's story that he told you about having that pain in his hands, he was explaining an excess of protein in the body. So it's the same thing with fats, but it's a different enzyme. So if you have excess fats in the body, and since I'm not supposed to talk about disease, just kind of think in your mind, if you have excess fat floating around in the body, what happens to you? Think of not just, you know, visually what might happen to you, but think of all the diseases that can be created by excess fat in the body. That would be a specific enzyme called lipase. They've actually done research studies where they can take people that are obese and they actually have less lipase than someone that's thinner. So they're aware of some of this, and what I'm teaching you is something that was taught back in the 1930s. You can look up a book by Dr. Edward Howell. There's been many books written since then, but they all reference back to his original book. And so this information's been around a long time, so you say, well, why doesn't everyone know about it? And that's what Sean said when he met me. And it was one of those books, out of all the books I was reading at the time, I read herb books and all the other things that are holistic, but I was really passionate about this thing called enzymes. And when I started working with them, kind of in a clinical setting, when I would work with people for different reasons, the results were crazy, off the charts. And then I kept asking myself, you know, why is this? This is kind of an amazing thing. And it's because it's the one thing we do every single day. We eat and drink something every single day for 365 days a year. That's the one thing that we're doing that's taxing the body. So to be able to change that, either by eating more raw food or by taking a plant-based enzyme when you eat a cooked food, the ultimate is still eating raw. I don't want you guys to misunderstand and say, well, I'm going to constantly live off of cheeseburgers and I'm just going to take enzymes. People do that. I have many people that don't eat any dairy, and then they're like, oh, dairy doesn't agree with me, I'm lactose intolerant. And then they get their hands on the enzymes and they're like, well, guess what I did tonight? I went and had a hot fudge sundae and I had no pain. I'm like, that's not exactly why I introduced you to the enzymes. But they are amazing, and so we are familiar with lactose intolerance, right? So that lets you be aware that we run out of enzymes, specific enzymes. But they don't tell you that you can run low on proteolytic enzymes, like what was happening with Sean. They would have just given him something to manage the pain, versus something that's going to go in. What's cool about enzymes, specifically lipase and proteolytic enzymes, it will go through the body if you take them on an empty stomach, and it will look. So the reason I was able to help him, no matter what age he was at the time, was because the enzymes will go through and they'll find that uric acid, which, remember, he told you that's just undigested protein. Didn't make it all the way to an amino acid. So it'll find that wherever it is in the body. So it could be in his big toe, it could be in his hands, and it will unlock the potential of that uric acid and turn it into an amino acid. So now it can be utilized. Same thing with excess fats floating around in the bloodstream. It will go through the body, it will find the excess fat, and it will turn it into a fatty acid that can actually be utilized. to strengthen the red blood cells, to do a million things. There's so many reasons why we have to break whatever we're eating down all the way to its most usable form so you can feed the cells so the cells can give you energy to help your heart, help your brain, help everything. Everything has to have perfect energy to run and to function. So it's one of the simplest things you can do is incorporate more raw food into your life. And then when you can't, for whatever reason, travel, this, that, whatever, you know, your job or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're adding a plant-based enzyme to that cooked food to make sure you process it all the way. Just so you don't get a bunch of diseases that I can't go into right now and you don't have time. But I want you guys to understand the power of plant enzymes. You're going to learn about other plant powers tonight, but plant enzymes are amazing.
Okay. That's like a lot of info fast, right? That seems good. And she just had key lime pie, man, so we keep her away from sugar. She doesn't do coffee or anything. Sometimes she'll have a little tea, and then call her chai Thai because, like, she wakes up like this every day. It's crazy. Yeah, fast forward.
I do.
So obviously she changed my health, and then she changed my life. She became my wife. So we got a blended family. We have 6 kids, 8 grandkids. Our 8th is actually in West Seattle. We're going to go see him for the very first time tomorrow. We're excited about that. That's super cool. But what she was just sharing, I was just kind of watching. You guys kind of look like I did when she was sharing this with me 20 years ago. I want you to just kind of get your mind around what she's saying. I'm going to break this down. It's really, really simple. Some of you are super smart, so just don't worry about it. Bear with me. When we cook our food, we kill it. It is what it is. Okay, you bite an apple, air hits it. Hopefully it starts to oxidize, turn brown, right? If it's not turning brown, you got fake food, get a new apple. Stop buying that. Bananas get real soft, you leave them on the counter, they start to get dark. You leave them there long enough, they start to ooze out of the sides, right? It's the life force of the banana. It's breaking itself down. When she said this research will show up to 30 years of extending someone's life, that sounds wacky to me. Probably you too. It did to me. I don't know. So you need to understand that what she was trying to say, we have to get our mind around. I remember asking Ty, my grandparents didn't take enzymes, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you gotta put everything back into perspective. The food is different, right? After World War II, the food changed. We got into canning food.
Which kills all enzymes.
It's all dead. TV dinners, those were amazing. Right? And the pudding and those bad boys. Anyways, what was that steak called?
Salisbury.
Salisbury steak.
Evenly.
Nasty, man. Okay. Maybe some maybe like okay. But everything changed, right? And everything changed. So please understand, if everyone in here, we all lined up across the room, and we were all born on the same day at the same time, but we had different parents and different grandparents, that our little bank account, I like to refer to it as like an ATM machine. Some of our ATM machines would have been full, some would have been not so full, like Tylene mentioned. And all of a sudden, we start to run out. So in my mid-30s, I ran out of protein-splitting enzymes, hence I had arthritis. Now what do we see in 2020? We see 6- and 7-year-olds with arthritis. Okay, that's ridiculous. When Ty mentioned the disease cycle that she wasn't going to go into, and she posed a question. If you're not breaking down all your fats and sugars, what potential issues, health-wise, will start to take place? What do you think that would be? Diabetes. What else? Inflammation. Heart disease. Cholesterol. Yeah. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So, your blood is your river of life. And having clean blood is the key. So when our blood's not flowing, and we love our dogs, right? So this isn't about dogs. We don't believe anyone in here is drug deficient. That's our perspective. We believe we're nutrient deficient as humans. We're not drug deficient. Okay? That's not a judgment on anyone or anything. That's our perspective. So all these things come into play when you're talking about clean blood, because when your blood's dirty, they put you on or if it's too thick and isn't flowing, what do they put you on? Blood thinner. Okay, I get it.
Rat poison.
Okay, I didn't say that. Okay, so now your blood is thinner,
I love Seattle.
and that's okay, because now you have thin, dirty blood, which is better than thick, dirty blood.
Yep.
I would personally, for me, choose enzymes. You guys are my age, and you remember the old Pac-Man game. You take them systemically away from food, and let the enzymes clean your blood, and then go check your numbers and see what happens. That's a preference of ours. We always like to live our life a couple ways when it comes to this stuff. When we're putting something into our body, or whatever we're doing, at what cost to the body. And then we also like to say, let's follow the money. So where did that come from in the first place? So I just don't want you to think she's making this up. We've seen what we've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of times over the past couple of decades of lives completely changing. And it's not about that. Eat all raw food, you don't need that. It's just, right? That's not the point. The message is, of course, no one needs to stand here and tell you to eat better. And if you're on a diet, that's wonderful, do your thing. We're not. Our goal every day is 80% raw food. And you guys just ruined this today.
We had a salad with that key lime pie.
Oh boy, wow. But we're not anything else, and that doesn't, there's no judgment to diets. This is obviously a healthy lifestyle thing, is what we're trying to get across. And if you're doing some type of diet that works for you, whatever serves you, man, that's cool. We're just not that, so don't judge us that we had that key lime pie. We're not, we're not paleo or Frito or Cheeto or keto or Tito's. Tito's isn't bad.
There we go.
I want to create the Tito's deal, and there's nothing wrong with those things. I wish people that are doing keto would do it correctly. That would be cool. We're just kind of joking about this with the bacon and butter roll. I mean, that sounds pretty good, I guess, for some people. But just understand, this is simple. The biggest frustration with all of this is it's so simple. I'm not that smart. This is the simplest thing. As soon as we get our ego out of the way,
That's right.
and get over the past of what we think things are supposed to be. And I'm excited as I get to talk with Doc tonight, because to approach things from more of a holistic perspective, back in the day, I mean, it shouldn't be holistic. It should be the opposite. It completely screwed up. It's backwards. Medical universities back in the day, that's 80-90%, Doc can tell you, of those remedies and treatments, they were holistic. And you get pharma involved in the medical universities, and what's being taught is changed. And then now all those docs that were practicing were, they were labeled as quacks, and we're going to either stop doing that and come over here, you're not going to be practicing anymore, we're going to run you out of the country, or whatever it is. And that's not right. That's a wrong perspective on things. And so we're in this place now. We've been saying this for 8-9 years, that we're the 6th generation we've ever seen in this country. You guys know that. And we need to change that. And that's why we want you to take away something from what we're trying to get across. Because it shouldn't be this way. And with all these kids and grandkids, and you can read different research. There's so much research out there. But even to see enough research when you're reading about our generation being the first generation that's supposed to outlive our kids, that's just not acceptable to us. And it shouldn't be to anyone. And such simple principles can change the way things are. And it just starts with all of us, with what we're doing on a regular, ongoing basis. So do you want to add anything else on?
Yeah, careful.
Real quick.
I just want to say, one of the worst things that you can do, or any of your loved ones can do, is take like an antacid to stop digestion. Just even the thought of it to stop your digestion is crazy. So the reason you're having excess acid, the reason people take all of those things, is because Well, one, they're probably eating way too late at night and then laying down, so that's creating acid reflux, gonna come back up. You shouldn't even eat like 4 hours before you're gonna lay down and go to sleep. Or even lay down on the couch or lay down anywhere, because you're gonna make it come back up to the esophagus, which creates a ton of other issues. But when you're eating cooked food, the signal is going to be to release enzymes to break that cooked food down. The reason we're having all the issues we're having with undigested food is because we're not eating enough raw food, for one, and then two, when we do eat cooked food, we're not taking an enzyme with it. But, man, there's just so much to say in a very, very short amount of time. When you guys go home each night and you go to lay your head on the pillow, ask yourself how much raw food you ate that day. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's horrible and you had, you know, toast in the morning with cream cheese on it, and you had pasteurized orange juice, or you had scrambled eggs, sausages, whatever, you had avocado toast, well, I guess that avocado would be raw, but then if you had tuna fish sandwich, everything in there is cooked, or a turkey sandwich, everything's cooked, then you have spaghetti at night, everything's cooked. You can start to see in a day how quickly a bowl of cereal, everything's cooked, you know, the pasteurized milk, the cooked grains, it starts to add up. And you do that every single day in a week, that really adds up to where you haven't given your body anything raw and living. So you're constantly asking from your body. If everything was perfectly healthy food, you would be at a break even from what you took away. You're putting in something, but you're also taking away a ton in order to process that food. So you're never really adding to your bank account. You're either at a standstill or you're at a deficit. And most of America's at a deficit. We're taking, not putting anything back. So not only does cooking hurt and denature the enzymes, it hurts the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, everything else that's in that food. So you can just cook broccoli in the water and then look at the color of the water. That's where all of your nutrients and your life force went. So just start to add more raw food into your day. That would be one really, really big thing to take home tonight, is when you lay down at night, how much raw food did you have today? And if you're really bad and you start realizing how bad your habits are, the best meal to replace with raw would be your dinner. Because that's where we see most of the disease happening. You don't have enough time to burn off those dinner calories. You're not going to have enough time to burn the calories, for one, so then people are gaining weight. Two, you're not going to have time to really digest it completely, so it goes into debris in the body. Three, that is the best time to heal, is when you're sleeping. But now your body's focusing on trying to digest that food you just ate versus healing and getting rid of some of the excess stuff in your body that it needs to slough off while you're sleeping at night. So it really is a detriment to eat one late at night, two, to eat something cooked. So if you want to make a little bit of change, you can change your dinner to a raw dinner. But even if you just change one thing and just do a smoothie or something, I definitely beg you to try to add more raw food into your world. And when you can, definitely do a digestive enzyme. But mix the two together and you'll be very, very happy. But I love you guys. I don't have enough time to tell you everything. I don't even have enough time to tell you how they work on an empty stomach versus with your food. But get with whoever brought you here tonight, and hopefully I have a really, really great audio that I did on how it works going through the bloodstream. That's pretty cool. I got some stuff on YouTube. But bye.
Hey, just real quick, I want to explain one more thing.
There's so much to
Because
explain.
she keeps bringing up metabolic enzymes. So the reason why, just so you know, the reason why we had all, is that real? Is
I don't know, it was making me nervous.
time's just, time's not real.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
It's an illusion. The way we got all those athletes, by the way. And by the way, I love sports. She's not a sports girl. Not at all. You really could have been
I
there.
watched the commercials during Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That counts.
Come on, man. That doesn't count. You could have been a fly on the wall when we first met with Steve Nash in his home, in his kitchen. Super embarrassing to me.
Wasn't embarrassing to me at all.
Wasn't embarrassing to her. But how we attracted a lot of these athletes. And one little proud moment, it was cool having all those NFL, NBA, all that stuff, and teams and players. And I think one proud moment of that is we never solicited any of them. Never. They found us. That was interesting to me. I thought that was kind of a big
And
deal.
not through advertising. They found us
No, they
because
just found
we
us.
helped a loved one that they knew. So that's how usually it's the same thing with all the MDs we've met or people we've helped over the years. It's because we helped somebody they knew that brought us that person. So
I just want to just kind of address this in a really simplistic, really oversimplified way. When Tylene said metabolic enzymes in your body, right? Well, basically, when we run out of those, we pass. That's the life force of our
everything.
body. They're meant to kind of fight disease and illness and viruses and things, right? And to help us heal injuries. So I'll give you an example real quickly of how we were getting these athletes back onto the court or the field. How did we get all these athletes? Well, one of the ways was they were healing quicker. And yes, we would want them to eat more raw food, which wasn't always real easy to do to get a professional athlete
It was like half the time.
to do that. But let me just kind of,
Yeah. Like if
Yeah.
they were told they weren't going to walk on that ankle for 6 weeks, we'd have them back in 3 weeks. Like whatever it was like half the time. So their healing was crazy.
and as you know, with multi-million-dollar athletes, and they're getting back out, and they're back in there, and it starts to get spread, word gets out. Well, what happens is if Tylene's an athlete,
Which I'm not. But if I was,
yes, if you were, you'd be amazing. I won't tell them about your high school gymnast thing.
no. The one thing I tried, I broke 3 toes, and it wasn't pretty.
So let's say she was an athlete, and let's say she hurt
My toes.
her ankle. Your toes, that's scary.
Yeah.
Let's say she had a hurt ankle, she rolled her ankle as an athlete. Well, her metabolic enzymes will help heal that ankle. But now she wakes up and she has breakfast, and it's a nice, big, fat, cooked, heated breakfast. And she doesn't have enough specific enzymes in her little pancreas bank account, right, to digest that meal. So the body's really smart, so what does it do? The metabolic enzymes stop focusing on that ankle and come on up to her gut to help digest that meal she just had. Now they're done digesting.
Which is not their job.
Not their job, very wasteful.
Wasteful of energy.
The whole key here is prolonging, right? It's just,
It's not misusing energy in the body.
so now they go back to heal her ankle again, because breakfast is now digested. Up, she's going to have a protein bar or something, she's an athlete. They stop healing her ankle and they come back up to digest that protein bar. Oh, now they're done. Now they go back down. It's lunchtime. Stop healing the ankle, let's come back up to the gut and help the body digest that lunch. You get the point? When that person is taking back then we would have them on plant enzymes to allow the body, the metabolic enzymes, to do what they're supposed to be doing. Raw food, you don't need to help. The pressure's off. When we work with cancer patients or facilities in other countries, when we would go there, what do they do there differently here than in the States? Well, number one, they're taking all the pressure off the body. You know, they want to detox the body. They're just flooding them with raw nutrients. 10, 12, 13, 14 raw juices, you know, cold press, whatever you want to call it, to get nutrients into the body without taxing the body in any way, without adding any more pressure to the body. So the beauty of what she keeps trying to tell you when she's saying raw food, you just take that one thing and take it a little more seriously. We should have brought a picture of Nicole, who someone was just asking us about. We work with many doctors, but one of the doctor's wives took us up on it. She decided to go raw, so you should see her in 30 days. It's just like anyone here. If you ever want to just freak some people out, go raw for 30 days and see who recognizes you. It's that life-changing. Not easy to do. Hold those questions. We'll stick around when we're done, just for time. But I know you got so much to share. We'll have to come back up there, and we'll come back, and you guys just tell us what Michael, Andrew, what do you guys want us to talk about, and we'll just address maybe it's poop. Could be anything.
Oh, I did want to say.
Poop.
No, yeah, remind me, you really don't run to the bathroom like that. If you ran to the bathroom after taking enzymes, there would be an issue. A lot of times, people will go to the bathroom a little less sometimes because it's the first time in years they've actually gotten nutrients. When you're nutrient deficient, which most of us are, your hair, skin, nails, there's visual things that suffer as well because the body's going to pull from things it doesn't think it needs to help your heart. So if your heart needs a nutrient and it pulls it from your hair, all your hair can fall out and the body's going to still function. So, but for vanity reasons, hair, skin, nails, you'll start noticing when people eat raw or they take enzymes, you'll start to notice some visual cues of their skin changes, their hair changes over time when they've done that. But yeah, you don't run to the bathroom, so I just wanted to let you know that.
We need vanilla pudding.
Yeah, no, it's not as fun.
All right. Okay. Very well. Doc, come on up here with me, Doc. One time on the phone and at dinner, and before dinner tonight. And the reason why I'm so excited is because of who he is as a human being, right? He's got going. I'm more excited. I'm super pumped up. I'm gonna have him share a little bit about the endocannabinoid system. Okay? And then I'm going to kind of go into what we've been doing with that specific plant for the last several years. But I wanted to kind of just talk to Doc about, you know, kind of why. It's interesting because I usually teach on the, you know, this whole new system that was discovered. And you said something at dinner, and I say the same thing, where it's just, I think it's like the most amazing discovery in modern times, certainly, if not all, you know, there was an immune system, an endocrine system, a nervous system, all these amazing, smart people on this planet, and no one knew we had an endocannabinoid system. Like, what? How does that even happen? Well, I know why it happened in the U.S. because we weren't allowed to study, right? We couldn't research those plants and whatnot. But Doc, would you just kind of share some of that fun stuff?
Let me start off. As a physician and scientist, I ask a lot of why questions. You just heard somebody with arthritis, whose arthritis went away by taking a proteolytic enzyme. So there's a why question in there that drives the scientist in me crazy. Let me follow through with that.
Can you speak up, please?
Do I need to hold?
Yeah.
East
Don't be
Coast.
shy.
You mean my voice doesn't boom enough? So, what's going on there that actually translates into arthritis? When you do not digest food properly, you have food subparticles, protein subfractions, you have fat subfractions, you have sugar or carbohydrate subfractions. These subfractions absorb directly into the bloodstream and circulate all over your body. Wherever your weakest area is where they will trigger. Protein subfractions actually initiate a very sensitive system called the endocannabinoid system, which regulates inflammation, moderates inflammation, and shuts it off when the need is gone. Those protein subfractions trigger the endocannabinoid system to initiate an inflammatory response. These particles not only trigger the endocannabinoid system, but they can be genetic modifiers. Some of the most powerful genetic modifiers we know of are fat subparticles and sugar subparticles. They actually initiate different genetic expression and can alter the genetic expression once it's expressed. Looking back at why you had arthritis, directly related to your inability to digest protein. You triggered your ECS, and arthritis follows. The last thing you heard was acid reflux. What's happening here? So your stomach produces acid, goes down out of the stomach into the small intestine, and you get all these digestive enzymes. Stomach acid, digestive enzymes, alkaline. You produce enough alkaline enzymes to neutralize the acid in your stomach. If you are enzyme deficient, you don't have enough alkaline. You still have acid, and acid reflux happens.
Here's what's super cool about all that. You're awesome, by the way. What we discovered 6 years ago when we started working with him, with cannabis and CBD and so on and so forth, what we were discovering as more and more people were using our plant enzymes, Doc, and our hemp, etc., it's almost like, I want you to talk to this, they both were better.
Yes.
It's like they were better together. And I had no idea.
Like me and you, babe.
Wow. Wow.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, please. I gotta tell you a quick story. So about however long people thought we were married 20 years ago. We've only been married a handful of years. I'm like, we don't even know. Do you know? She's like a guy. She won't know. Trust me. You doesn't even know, right? So what? No, I mean, about a crowd about this side in Arizona. Every month we had a big old building, and we would do a talk like this on something specific. And it was Valentine's. It was February, so we decided to do sex, basically. So I proposed to her during that sex time. And then you should see her face. It was awesome. Anyway, I just thought of that. I had to throw that in there. But I want to know why. Can you just? They work better together.
Yeah.
So it's not just endocannabinoid. The point is, the endocannabinoid system is not just about CBD.
Right.
That's true. That's definitely true. So, for all of us, a lot of internal normal chemistries begin to wind down as we get older, as we approach old age. In your body's case, old age starts at age 35. Wow. There are none of you here that have to worry about that. So from an enzymatic perspective, your enzymes begin to decline. From a hormone perspective, hormones begin to decline. From the ECS itself, the endocannabinoid system, it begins to decline. I've been in the process of writing a book for the last 40 years. 45 years, actually. I never get it finished because each time I finish a section, something new comes up, and I have to go back and rewrite that chapter. I have a title for the book. It's called The Metabolic Dance. This whole thing that we're talking about this evening is about a metabolic dance. Everything is interconnected.
Yes, it is.
CBD works because it works through a system that your body has called the endocannabinoid system that is so essential to life. It actually started about 600 million years ago when the highest life form on the planet was a sponge. Absolutely critical to life processes. The endocannabinoid system is the very core, the very essence in the cell structure that promotes harmony and chemical and physiologic balance. Without an ECS, you don't balance. Everything that affects you through the ECS. When you eat a piece of chocolate and you have an allergic reaction to chocolate, that chocolate subfraction is triggering your ECS inflammatory mechanisms. And sometimes uncontrollably, it gets away from the ECS. Everything works through the endocannabinoid system. If you're camping and the bear comes into your tent, the female response is different from the male because of hormones reactions on the endocannabinoid system. Example, estrogen creates anxiety.
Wow.
Female response is, now this is stereotype, so it's not 100%, but the female response is anxiety. Testosterone does not. Testosterone promotes anger and aggression. The female will back away from the bear. The male will reach down, pick up a club. Mad as hell, gonna whack this bear. That's how sensitive the system is. And it works through all of the chemistries. It modulates, regulates all of your enzymes. It is sensitive to and responds to those chemistries, trying as best it can to try to harmonize chemistries.
Man. First off, I think we need to get Tylene's testosterone checked. She's picking that club up. It's not going anywhere. You guys, just for time's sake, I don't know if you guys realize, I'm sure you do if you've listened to Doc before, like, I'm not blowing smoke. We've been all over the country, all over the world. We've been doing this a long time. We've done thousands of these. This guy is a unique human being that you guys should be so proud to have here. Super cool. And you gotta come with, we're gonna do an event down at our ranch in May. We gotta have you down there. I think, man, people go nuts for you. And thank you for just sharing that, because that is just,
Yes.
you're awesome, man. Love this guy. I'm gonna go into some other stuff. You can hang out or you can sit down, watch out for Tylene if you go down there. Or a bear story. to have a, you know, one of the things Doc, would you come back 1 second? I told you this stuff's not scripted, man. We just make it up as we go. Whatever we're feeling. And tell me, you don't have to do this, but you were sharing with me, Tylene was talking to you about how would you share your experience and why you experimented with CBD?
Yeah.
I think it's really, really relevant to have medical doctor, obviously, who's open to a lot of things, but would you just share that briefly?
So, for those of you who don't know, depending on how your childhood was, your risk for cardiovascular disease increases the more stressed your young years were. Mine were pretty stressful. I thought I survived it. I was a runner. I ran 8 to 10 miles a day. I watched my diet. I did all of the right things. And all of a sudden, I started developing heart problems. The most shocked person on the planet. How could that happen to me? I didn't eat a lot of fat. I didn't exclude it, but I didn't do a lot of it. And I was a runner, and being a runner was the magic. If you ran, it wasn't the magic. And I started developing chest pain, went in, the cure was a double bypass. That worked for about 3 days. In fact, one of the double bypasses reclogged before I left the hospital 5 days from the surgery. About a month following that, I had chest pain again. They put a stent in. About 3 months following that, I started having difficulty going up and down stairs. Chest pain going into my neck, jaw, teeth. They took me by ambulance to Swedish heart folks who held me for over a week in bed as a fragile anginic. They were worried that if they let me go, I'd die before I got to the door. They put in an artificial valve. So here's this guy's done everything right, and a runner which cured everything. I've had a double bypass, a stent, and an artificial heart valve. After the valve, I felt incredibly good. Maybe 2 months. Then I started noticing as I was going upstairs, it was getting more and more difficult. Had to go slower and slower. About halfway up the stairs, I'd have to stop and rest. Now, I used to do the magic. I was a runner. I've had all of the surgery. I'm on a fistful of drugs that should have taken care of all this. I was doing some work sort of half-heartedly on the endocannabinoid system, looking at CBD, and got into an article on what CBD does on the heart. It was a pretty good scientific research paper. Data looked good. Was good enough for me. Everything I was doing wasn't working. So I took CBD. Within 2 weeks, I was thinking to myself, no, I think I can feel something. I think I feel a little better. Within 2 months, I was going up and down the stairs with no problem. Then I could run up and down the stairs. Then I could start jogging again. The only thing I changed, CBD. Stuff is magic. It is the CBD and the endocannabinoid system, I believe, are the 2 greatest discoveries literally in the history of medicine. That all of these degenerative diseases, arthritis, even hormone disruptions, owe their core function to the ECS. When it becomes dysregulated, a lot of bad things follow. The endocannabinoid system is so super sensitive that tiny fractions of molecules will trigger it. It is so sensitive that how you think will trigger it. And in fact, we now think that the placebo effect isn't really a placebo effect, but is you activating your endocannabinoid system. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Guys, that's what's up. What I mean by that is when we're just real, man, and we're just vulnerable. We allow ourselves to be vulnerable like that. Message there. That's what's happening. I'm gonna, just for time's sake, I'll just give you a kind of brief little scenario on our perspective of what I'll call whole flower, whole plant hemp. Okay? I don't want to say CBD just because that's a part of it, but there's more to it than that. I do want to say that if you can be a little more educated when you're dealing with CBD or you're looking for that plant, it's very helpful. So let me just kind of break it down. Some of you guys know some of this, some of you don't, so just bear with me. This all started in the U.S. When the U.S. started dealing with CBD, it was pretty much all industrial hemp isolate, okay? And anytime you isolate something, that's more of the pharma way. So most pharmaceutical medications or drugs, you can look back and they started with some kind of plant or something, and then they isolate something out, and then they amplify that, and they create this deal that will probably put a Band-Aid on something and then create a whole other disruptive, just the rippling effect. As you guys know, we're only one of 2 countries on the planet that it's legal to advertise pharmaceutical meds. You knew that, right? So we're one of 2 countries. You know now when you turn the TV on, if you watch TV, it's not all the drug commercials anymore. Those are just ridiculous anyways. The side effects are insane. You can watch those commercials with children. I love watching their responses when they actually listen to it. Your headache might go away, but your arm might fall off. This medication is great for depression, known possibly to cause suicidal tendencies. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but the sheeple, we run out and we're in. I'm in. Sounds pretty good. But now all those commercials, now it's not even about that, right? It's not about the meds anymore. It's about if you took this medication, you're probably entitled to a settlement. Duh. Like that wasn't going to happen. Okay? And the more commercials I think are the settlements now than the actual drug commercials. When I first started studying cannabis, it was really, really difficult for me. I was scared straight by 2 of my older brothers watching them go to jail and do things and be disruptive. And I didn't know, man. I grew up in that era. This is your brain on drugs. And I coached public schools. I've coached high school football, basketball. I played sports. And I was just brought up, that straight guy, right? And so I didn't, never smoked pot, never smoked cannabis. Tylene tells me I missed out. It's all right. So it was very difficult for me to be open, to put my ego away. And some of you, if you're not that familiar with hemp, cannabis, CBD, you gotta just stop it and get over it. You gotta get over it. I don't know how else to say it. I had to get over it. And once I got over it and started researching and learning and witnessing, I got over it real fast. I want to clarify a couple of things. I went back and started saying that it was industrial hemp isolate was pretty much how it started in the U.S. with CBD. It still is. It still is. That's not so cool. That's not so cool. Okay, industrial hemp isolate you can make my shirt with, right? You can make some rope. You can make stuff. There are 2 different types of plants. Not going to get specific. There is a hemp plant and there's a cannabis plant. Okay, they are not the same. Okay, CBD is not medical marijuana. Okay, CBD is not THC. THC is what gets you that high effect. CBD, we like to say get healed, not high. However, you do need a little bit of THC if you want your CBD to do what it's fully capable of doing. And oh, by the way, there are plenty of issues that high THC is the deal. There are plenty of issues heard me, that THC and pot, cannabis, Mary Jane, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, when done correctly, is unbelievable. But we're talking about more on the CBD side, the hemp side, and I want to clarify something. I just want you to be educated. When the Farm Bill passed about a year ago in the United States and the U.S., they said, as long as, this was so cool to us, as long as your CBD has less than 0.3 THC, we're going to call you hemp. You're like, sweet. Okay? And you're now legal to ship and send and blah, 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 those products. There are still 3 states in the U.S., the last I checked, and this changes all the time, that are still, they're not over themselves when it comes to CBD. Wow. What are they? Idaho, Nebraska, and South Dakota are still the last 3. When Dr. Sanjay Gupta came out and did that public report 6 years ago, whatever it was, you can look this up, and they started showing all the people with seizures. Anybody remember that? Yeah. And they were showing people with cannabis and kids going from a gazillion, whatever it was, seizures down to a handful or whatever, and families started moving all over from the U.S. and in different states into Colorado. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was good but bad to have to uproot your family so you could help your child or whomever it was. Super frustrating. Well, now the cat's out of the bag. Can't put the cat back in anymore. There's too much knowledge out there. So the Farm Bill passed and said you could get involved. You could start helping more people with this, which is a huge, huge deal. I don't know if everyone really understands how big that is. And the numbers are staggering. You can read whatever report you want to, 22 billion, 24 billion the next couple of years. That's in CBD in the United States. You throw medical marijuana, recreational cannabis into that, it's over 80 billion. Okay? When you look at what Doc was just sharing with you on the endocannabinoid system, and you look at these receptors in the body actually getting what they're wanting, the body starts to balance itself. What the FDA says we're not allowed to say is we're not allowed to say that CBD is a supplement. Interesting. It's a supplement. It balances your body. You just heard from Doc, it is what it is. And all of us are seeking that homeostasis thing, that balance. Whether it's meditation, yoga, what we eat, how we live our life, whatever it is, we're trying to balance our body so our body can do what it's fully capable of doing, and things start to function and work together better, because it is about working together. And the human body is all connected. The challenge, Ty and I used to talk about, Western medicine is so advanced, it's not always good. The foot doc doesn't talk to the gut doc, to the brain doc, right? They don't talk to each other. But the body works as one. And that's the beauty of the endocannabinoid system when it's doing its thing the way it wants to regulate the body and do what it's capable of doing to help the human body. So there are things you want to look for if you're going to use CBD, and I highly recommend that every human being in here does. All of us. All of us. What do you want to look for? What do you want to not look for? I can tell you what we do. I can tell you what 99% of everything else is done out there. They treat it differently. They isolate something. They're taking something that, whatever your belief is, God, Mother Nature created. And plants are very efficient. And plants are very conservative. And plants work as one. It works together. All parts of that plant. Right? Now, with CBD, the flower has the most medicine. There's still some medicine in the other parts of the plant. There's not just CBD, you guys. This is why I'm saying stop calling it CBD. Because what about CBG? CBN? All these, you guys are roughly whatever, about 100 or so of these cannabinoids, these CBDs that are there. There's also what are called terpenes, the essence of that flower, that plant. Okay? Flavonoids. And here's what these companies are doing. It's called trickery. I'm not judging their marketing ability because they're geniuses. And they play on the naiveness of the consumer. Because the consumer hears CBD and they're like, I want to try that. Part of the problem with that is so much of it is crap, excuse me. It doesn't do what that person was hoping it could help them accomplish. And then they don't ever try it again. That's frustrating to me. They isolate by destroying the plant through an extraction process. Heat kills. So they destroy what they're extracting, first of all, with heat and chemicals. Maybe critical CO2. Typically a chemical, maybe alcohol, butane, ethanol, propylene glycol, whatever it is that they're dealing with. And the end result is they get a little bit of oil from what they just did. And they put it in a bottle, let's say. And then they put other things into that bottle so they can fill that bottle. Well, first of all, they need a carrier oil of some sort. Okay? And those carrier oils sometimes are better than the freaking CBD they put in there. Maybe a good MCT oil or whatever it is that they're trying to help put in that bottle so you can utilize that. Well, is your body mostly oil or water, by the way? Water. Okay. The reality is oil is going to absorb a lot less. Right? You can look at your own research. You're probably going to find somewhere between 4 and 10% absorption. Okay? That's why they ask you to take typically a dropper, which is about 20 drops, put it under your tongue and hold it there sublingually. Just hold it. Hold it. Try not to drool. Hold it. Because they want to see what the body can absorb and get in. Does that make sense? It's not very hot. Okay? They're not giving you the rest of the plant. They're giving you one little tiny piece of the puzzle. What's interesting to me is even that little piece of the puzzle can help. It can help you. It's not going to do what it's capable of doing, but it can give you some relief. It can give you some help. And I want you to understand that I said it was a supplement. So first and foremost, that's what it is. Before you're trying to accomplish something that you're dealing with already, maybe it's anxiety, whatever it is, pain, stress, arthritis, sleep, that's okay. But what it's going to do for him is going to be something possibly different for you. Doc was just talking about our endocannabinoid system. Our bodies are the same but different. We have different areas of more need in our body. We're depleted in certain areas. So when you're going to use a CBD type product, don't expect the same results that the next person had. It could take that person 10 minutes. It could take that other person 10 weeks or 10 months. Okay, we're all different that way. And yes, it can accomplish a list as high as this screen. It's ridiculous. Of all the things all the research and all these things that have come out. And the reason why you'll hear docs, a lot of doctors, or anyone, not even a doctor, say, well, it's not proven yet. There's not enough valid information. Really? Why is that? Follow the money. You weren't even allowed to research this plant in the United States, let alone use it. You weren't even allowed to research it. But now, pharma, they've got their own version. You can get some pharma CBD prescribed to you. Depending on what you buy, it's typically between $1,500 and $3,500 per month per person. That's ridiculous. It'll help health insurance, I'm sure. It's ridiculous. You know, when we were first talking 10, 15, 20 years ago about gut health, Tylene was teaching gut health, and we would go around and people said, you guys are whacked. Freaking freaks, hippies. We got called everything you can imagine. Weirdos. And Tylene would say, we're not hippies, we shower. Who calls that? And then Dr. Oz came out like around 2014 and said, hey, we're going to talk about the gut-brain correlation. And then everyone started calling us, hey, what Tylene's been saying must be real now. Dr. Oz said it. Cool. We didn't care. We didn't care. And sometimes things happen this way. And you're going to see this. You guys have not even seen what's going to happen with this plant.
That's right.
You've not even seen it. And pretty soon you're going to hear these companies, these same marketers who are really, really good, they're going to come out and say, CBG. It's all about CBG, not CBD. That's old school. We're going CBG. And what I want you to tell them is, you knuckleheads, why'd you take it out in the first place? It's in there. We do something that a man in Southern California discovered about 11 years ago. He figured out how to extract a plant without using any heat or chemicals. And everyone can't get over themselves about it. And I've been dealing with this with him for the last 5-6 years. And these big CBD companies are now coming full circle. And we get the calls every day. Can we license this process? How did you do it? Because everyone laughed at the beginning because they didn't understand it. But I get it. What he discovered was so different than what they were doing, what everyone was doing, and maybe they spent $500,000, $2, $3, $4, $5 million on an extraction facility and process and equipment. Critical CO2 is about $500,000 per unit. And when they spend that kind of money, and all the investors got involved when this space started coming, and we go in there and we're like, sorry you did that. We can accomplish what you just did for way less. They're not happy about it. Now that they're over that, now they all want it. And the beauty of what this man discovered was, when you don't destroy the plant, and you let nature do its thing. And the reason why Ty, by the way, why we got in alignment with him when we first learned of this, is because he was teaching what we teach about food and plants, and whole foods, and whole plant, and whole flower. We were in such alignment, it just was, we didn't believe it either. To be very transparent with you, we didn't believe what he was saying at the beginning. Until we started taking this to cancer folks. Doing things, whether it was Truth About Cancer, whether it was autism organizations or clinics or whatever. You go over the border, even down in San Diego and Tijuana, there's 5 or 6 clinics. They're all right there. And they do things very differently. And as we were flying all over the country and out of the country with products unlabeled, by the way, very scary, not fun, people needed it. But the results were mind-boggling to us. And that's what it's all about. So it's one of those things that, when done correctly, it's unbelievable. But unfortunately, it's such an exciting time, the marketers are really doing a good job. What I'm excited about, Dr. Sanjay Gupta did another special report a few months ago, and he came out and told everyone who watched, do not buy a CBD product unless you see their C of A, their certificate of analysis. Don't buy it. And I'm also really, really excited that the FDA recently sent out about 57 more warning letters to 57 more CBD companies, some huge ones, that said, knock it off. You better get it right quick. So the poo's going to start falling. We've seen a lot of it go away in the past year. We're excited about the market, the industry being a little more regulated for the posers to get out of the way, because they're ruining what is a great help to the human race when done correctly. Remember I said THC? The reason why it's in there is it's the power couple with CBD. You need at least a trace amount in there because that keeps the thing whole. They're better together. So when you see products advertised no THC, that's not a good thing. And you'll see that mostly in a lot of the retail stores and skincare products. Like, you guys have Sprouts grocery stores up here as an example. Go in there and go to an end cap and you'll see a bunch of CBD, whatever, products. And it's in everything now. And each state's a little different. California, man, I love Cali, but it's weird down there. You would think as progressive as they are in some areas, they're just so backwards in other areas. But food, beverages, name something that's in it. You're already probably using it. And people don't even realize that. I predict that in the next couple, 2-3 years, everyone in here will have used it, even if they don't realize they've used it. Because it's going into everything. And yes, there's a marketing piece to it, but also there's some real value there as well. Super anti-inflammatory, we know that. We know that, you can trace back all these diseases back to some form of bad inflammation. There's so many good things that can come from this. And we've experimented with so much, whether it's PTSD, right? I mean, just some life-changing things. Seizures. To watch people's seizures stop in front of you is pretty cool. It's really, really interesting. But don't be duped. Because the other CBD that you typically see out there, I just want you to be careful. You can get what you want in dispensaries, right? You're in a state where recreational here, correct? Woo! But you have to look, because it's getting better. But when the dispensaries were first starting, and you went and spoke to a bud tender at the counter, they're pretty into THC. They weren't as familiar with CBD. I'm not mad at them, they just know what they know. And by the way, if you decide, if you haven't already ran into this, the THC of today is not old school, man. It's not the beer and wine that used to be out there of cannabis. It's tequila nowadays. And it'll probably put you on your hiney if you're not ready for it. Because they're developing the strains and the hybrids that they're creating, they're just putting such high THC percentages in there, you got to be ready for that. Don't be afraid of CBD. Don't be afraid of, and I'm calling it hemp because I want to get away from CBD, because I want you to know there's so much more available in that plant and in that flower. And to me, if you're going to spend your time and money on doing something holistic, you want to do it the best that you can. And oh, by the way, when you buy those CBD products, I want you to look how many doses you get out of that product. And then I want you to take the dollars by the number of doses and look at your cost per dose. It's not very good. They don't talk to you about that. It's typically 4 or 5 up to 8, 9, 10, 12 bucks a dose. Sometimes higher. So be aware of that. How many doses are you going to get? So we do work with something called whole flower fluid. It's 2 drops a dose. It's everything in the plant. It's all in there. All the cannabinoids, all the terpenes, flavonoids. They grew up together. They play together. They know each other. And they work synergistically. You can't take terpenes from another place and stick them in the bottle and think that everyone knows how to get along. They don't. It doesn't work. Nature doesn't work like that. Any basketball fans, any of you guys remember when like LeBron was traded to the Lakers? Remember how the Lakers stunk when he got there? Like, they didn't know how to play with LeBron. You can't bring someone outside into nature. It doesn't work that way. Nature is nature is nature. Very conservative, very efficient. So what this gentleman created is very efficient. We get far more material out of that extraction process than what these companies are doing when they're destroying and creating an oil. So we call it a fluid because it's completely water compatible. That's why you can drop it on your tongue. You don't need to take it sublingually, and it'll just dissipate. You don't need to swallow. It's going to go away. You can put it on topically if you need to. You can put it in your water if you want. You can put it on your pet's food. It doesn't really matter. But if you're going to use that form of medicine, that form of plant medicine, try what we have. We didn't create it. We're going to take any credit for that. We might even have some here. Do you have any here? Did you drink it all? Does anyone here want to taste it? Yes. That hasn't tasted? Don't be. You guys have some that they can taste? Never tried it? I just like to see people. I'll hurry up. I just like to see the response. Anybody over there wants to? Over here? We got any more bottle? We'll speed this up. Yeah, just give it one little drop. Just try a little drop. Some of you guys might really like the taste. Some of you might struggle with it.
Tastes like crap. But I love it.
So they're giving you one little drop.
See, I like this one better.
One more of those drops would actually be a dose, which is pretty neat, comparatively speaking. One quick one, because I'm going to hang out after, just because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Say it again. Okay. She just asked, and I'm going to just take this one question. She's asking you about for drug testing and THC. Okay? We don't typically see a positive test result from the tiny trace amount that is in what people are tasting. Okay? I also have learned in life, anything's possible. We don't see it. We have seen, I don't know, maybe 500 to 1,000 people post their test. And we've seen every type of test taken. 2 or 3 times in the last 6 years, I've heard people tell me, my test was positive. I'm like, really? And then I get the rest of the story. Maybe they had a little something, something that was part of that test. I also had someone that was swearing up and down, I don't do cannabis, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, do you take any medications? And they sent me a copy front and back of the label of the medication. So I researched that medication, and that medication is THC. Very interesting to me. THC activates when it's heated, by the way. Maybe it's because we have such a minute trace amount, but also because there's no heat in the extraction process. So that could be why. Okay, let me jump over here. So what do you guys think of that taste? I'm just curious. Wait, first of all, who just tasted that for the first time that's used other CBD? What's the difference? Anyway.
This tastes like candy.
Yeah, this was more, this tastes like candy?
It tastes like Tootsie Roll.
Your other one tastes like
We got pure over here.
pure. I'm just curious.
More death.
Or death. Anyone else? Yes, sir. The other one? Yeah, it's really interesting when you drop those oils in water and you see it just kind of float around. That's what you just tasted, that's the plant. That's what your CBD should taste like. That's the plant, right? Maybe it reminded some of you of high school. I don't know. Just kidding. Maybe it reminded you of before you left the house on the way over here. Crazy people. But that's what the plant is. It should taste like a plant because it's a flippin' plant. So it's usually a, oh wow, oh my, this is very different. I've tried CBD, blah, blah, blah in the past. But that's what you should, and by the way, if you're an individual that goes to those, to a dispensary, and you're trying to get relief from whatever, I would kind of challenge you to see if you can get the relief from that.
Yeah, really.
I'm not against cannabis at all. I'm not a user of cannabis. Let me correct myself. Smoking it. I have implemented sometimes via the same extraction a couple drops. Very different. Very different. than getting stoned. Because even with that, such a mild version is very different. But when you're going into these places, we're not into smoking. Okay, that's part of our deal. That doesn't mean if you want to smoke, smoke. It's your body, it's not mine. But there are other methods of getting this into your body if you're trying to use it for something. Just hold on to that. I'll hang out in just a minute. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going really long here. There's so many things to kind of share with you that we got to come back up here and we'll just go through some specific topics. When someone's trying to get you to use one of those CBD products, just look at the label. Does it have THC? It does? Check. And then look at the ingredients. Why would it have a bunch of ingredients? It should be the plant. So my question to them is, what did you do with the rest of the plant? I want whole. The last thing I'll tell you, you can think about the whole thing, is go home and look at your vitamins and supplements and turn those around and read the back of that label and see if you're taking synthetic ingredients. Look, there's prescription drugs made in a lab. That is not nature. There's over-the-counter medications. That is not nature. I didn't know taking those types of products would make my liver or stomach bleed back in the day. No one taught me that. We've seen athletes, livers of an alcoholic, and they don't drink, and they don't touch alcohol. But they take so many anti-inflammatories, they've destroyed their liver. Okay? Why take things when you're trying to help your body and you're hurting your body? Go home and look at your vitamins, and if you see synthetic vitamins on the back of that product, in my opinion, throw it away. You see vitamin C as ascorbic acid because doc told you needed a gazillion milligrams, just like they're trying to tell you in CBD BS. You don't need a gazillion milligrams. It's a marketing game. It's hype. When you have the whole thing, less is more. When you get in home and look at your vitamins, vitamin C as ascorbic acid, hydrochloric acid, and corn syrup, typically genetically modified corn syrup, your body is not corn syrup deficient. You take that synthetic vitamin, and there's some value there. And there are some countries where people really need it for certain issues. I'm not saying there's no value there. But why take that when you can take nature with no harm to the body? Acerola cherries, blackcurrant fruit, right? Things that have vitamin C. Instead of taking a synthetic vitamin C and your body goes, what's up? I don't know what that is. That's not a vitamin C molecule. And it tries to make it whole. How does it make it whole? It pulls from your skin, your hair, your nails, your bones, wherever. It's trying to make it something it recognizes that it can use. And unfortunately, 9 out of 10 vitamins and supplements in the United States are all still using synthetic ingredients. Even the ones that say plant-based. We're all natural. Natural's the biggest joke ever in marketing. So just read, just look at that. Look for synthetic, ascorbic acid. All these words that you're like, frick, what is that? That's not in nature. It's the same with CBD. Don't get duped with this milligram game. And don't get duped with full spectrum, broad spectrum. That's an isolate. What does that even mean? You can't be full spectrum. You're one thing. You're full spectrum isolate? That doesn't make any sense. But they're saying it because they can. They can get away with it. It's poo, you guys. Stop it. If you want to try some of that product, whoever got you here, ask them how. The other thing I'd love to have, man, if we could use your voice to help wake people up, because we're getting sicker and sicker, and we don't need to be doing this. This autism thing is not cool. They're saying within the next 10 years now, every other child born in the United States will be somewhere on the spectrum. What? I don't even remember autism. 1 in 2 million, 1 in a million, 1 in a half a million, 1 in 100,000, 1 in 50,000, 1 in 10,000, 1 in 30 some, or whatever it is now. You guys, at what point do we knock it off? When do we stop doing the same silly crap? Wake up. Let's tell other people to wake up. Let's not create more health issues. Let's prevent. Enzymes help the body prevent, help you reverse. That's true. Real CBD, this plant can help you prevent because of the endocannabinoid system. You heard Doc spell it out. Yes, and it can help reverse some things as well. But those things can take time. You have to be patient. It's not a drug. Be patient when you're dealing with plant medicine. Be patient. We love you guys. We appreciate you that you take this much time and get here. Man, we'll come back as often as you want.
Okay.
We're doing something. Yeah. We're going to have. Can I talk about what we're going to do tonight? Is that okay? Acceptable? We're going to have a bunch of experts come to our ranch in the middle of May. We call it Escalate Your Life. We did one 6 months about that last summer in Chicago. We did one in Scottsdale 6 months before that. And we just help people.
Wow.
We just bring people in that have something super cool to teach or share. It's 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. Get educated. Get educated so you can help other people get educated. This isn't complicated. I don't know what Doc knows. I don't know what Tylene knows. I know way too much. I didn't want to know all this stuff. I'm a simple dude. But you've got to understand how simple this is if we would just get over ourselves and give nature a chance. We're so far off the path of nature, we're lost, man. We got to get back. We just got to come back. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to know some basic steps to help yourself. So if we can help you in any way, let us know. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll hang out. I know we're getting kicked out of here in 10 minutes. Maybe we can kind of move out to the lobby
If you
or
guys
something.
have questions, you guys can definitely.
We'll go hang out there so we don't get in trouble.
We just gotta get this stuff cleaned up and get it.
Anything else? Anything else?